ballots, a motion or brief to enforce absentee ballot law, voting machines. You want a petition to impound voting machines if there's a problem, and a motion to count paper ballots. Provisional ballot pleadings. You want a memorandum of provisional ballot law, and a motion or brief to enforce provisional ballot law. Polling hours. You want an opposition to a motion to extend polling hours, and a complaint or a motion to intervene in an opposition. For basic general election day pleadings, you should have a federal and state pleadings to enforce laws allowing challenges, a kind of omnibus pleading about prohibited election day practices, which, for example, illegal voting assistance, electioneering, stuff like that. Pleading to permit a poll watcher to observe in case you've got a poll worker who's not allowing the poll watchers to be in the place that they're legally allowed to be in. And you have federal and state pleadings to enforce voter ID provisions. Procedural motions, you want a motion to intervene in state and federal, federal and state removal pleadings, standard TRO and injunction pleadings and grief and support, and affidavits for witnesses to voting irregularities. Some other things that you want to have prepared before Election Day is training is very important. You want to make sure the poll workers and the voting attorneys are well trained, have the materials that they need. It's sometimes helpful to have a lawyer in on the poll worker training, a poll watcher, sorry, I keep saying that, poll workers, poll watcher training to make sure when the poll watchers ask questions that the people training them don't tell them to do something that might be illegal. That does happen sometimes. You want to make sure your voting attorneys have a good summary of statutes like Chuck passed out, and a good breakdown of response protocols like Brad just went through. You want a good contact sheet. You want to know contact information for the courts. You want to know when they're open, when they close, on Election Day. The last thing you want to do is be trying to find that information at 6 o'clock on Election Day. You also find a notary and make sure you have a notary on hand. I've had several instances where I really needed a notary near or on Election Day and I couldn't find one. So if it's in a law firm, if it's nearby or something like that, just know of a notary, know you can contact them on Election Day, and that they're available because you very well may need their services. I also kind of just wanted to go over one more thing about kind of remaining calm and collected on Election Day. It's usually a pretty stressful day. You've got in the war room, you've got a room full of people who don't necessarily have a ton to do because their job's already been mainly done that day, pacing around the floor, waiting for the results to come in, and things can get really hyped up and overreacting to small things. Obviously, there's stuff that we definitely want to go to court on, but there are other things that are kind of an echo chamber. For example, one election I was involved in, we were in the war room and we kept getting these calls that polling place in a place where we thought we had a lot of our voters were, that it was closed and the voting machines were broken. And we kept getting calls and calls about the same polling place. And so we thought, oh, of course, this is a problem. And we started to get ready to go to court. The campaign manager got involved. It was a big, hour-long production. Everyone focused on this instead of other stuff. And it turns out what happened was one woman went to the wrong place, wrong building, in her precinct that she thought was her polling place. It wasn't. She called into a conservative talk radio show during a commute hour and told the radio host a story, and he put her live on air. And then everyone who had been calling us just had heard it on the radio. And TV stations picked this up, a few newspapers put it on their online site. It was just a big echo chamber. Nothing really happened. The polling place was fine. The voting machines were working properly, but everyone just got very paranoid for no reason because we didn't dig down in the right direction and figure out, okay, where is this coming from? Do we have a witness to this? Send someone to that polling place to check it out and make sure this was a legitimate story. We should have obviously done that initially, and that wasn't done. So it's important to remember, to take the right steps and someone to polling place, that kind of thing, before you start preparing pleadings to go to court. And I think that's about all I have. Great, thanks.
All right, I'm really pleased that we have our next two panelists, Tim Clark and Matt Rexroad. They're both political consultants.